Room 614. Oh, damn, did the girl use a voice changer to convince him? Lanky arrives and asks, Violeta, what are you doing here? The president is looking for us. Oh, boy. What are they planning? A 200 IQ plan is in motion. The protagonist arrives at the door. There you are. Oh damn, is that the fake president? There's something I want to ask you. Meanwhile, Lanky says, did you manage to contact the zombie? No. The sisters are obviously messing with the communications again. They pass by where the pets are with the real president. President, were you looking for us? I need to pee. What can you do, right? Go to stay safe. They take him to the bathroom and come to a silly conclusion. Alright, I guess we don't need to go in. Hey, this is our territory, isn't it? And, of course, the guy is inside. Hashi, you brought me here, why are we running? He just wanted to confirm something and see if there was a chance. E replies, how? Didn't you see that scary guy was here? We already lost our best chance. There's no chance left. But that's when the little president arrives. Wow. I looks around. Don't worry, big brother. The two girls outside are just watching. Boom. The president gets kidnapped. Who would have thought? Remember how in the last chapter everyone was in that building? The president had just gone to the bathroom to take a leak when suddenly someone appeared out of nowhere and took the guy. The guy started jumping from rooftop to rooftop celebrating, saying they were way too lucky. Those guys volunteered themselves. That's when Lanke and Violeta went to check on the bathroom, curious about what the president was doing in a place that was making so much noise. But when they got there, they found the wall exploding and got a scare. An alarm went off. Everyone was on high alert and Violeta was already trying to contact the zombie. Nobody knew where he was. Violeta was in shock and Lanky was ready to transform. But Violeta said, hold on, dude. Are you crazy? Did you forget what happened a few days ago? Without the zombie here, you could end up killing everyone, including the president. She warned that not even she can control his power. In other words, it's extremely dangerous for them to transform when he's not around. Lanky asked, so what do we do, Violeta? The scene shifts to the two huge monsters trapped inside, sweating all over. Lanky asks if she's sure, and Violeta says, well, they belong to the president. Maybe they can find him. The beasts, however, just reply that they'll talk when they get out of there. Meanwhile, the two of them are sitting on this weird couch, and the girls ask if they're really dogs. Out of nowhere, one of them grabs the other's leash and throws him against the wall, blowing up the building and obviously creating a path through. But the beasts apparently go after him because one says, leave it to us. Then it bursts out in a massive explosion, flying away. Immediately, Lanky asks the obvious, how is that any less risky than us transforming? At that moment, the guys who had kidnapped the president see something approaching and those hellhounds, who are really ugly as seen, tell them to leave that man if they don't want to die. The masked guy is surprised, thinking that the people of the country are raising zombies to hunt them. The two of them charge forward like Goku and Vegeta. Lanke wants to know what they're going to do now. Without many options, they start chasing them and the fight begins. Night falls and there we are among the zombie ruins. The guys who kidnapped the president ask, hey, are you sure that's the president? He just tells the bastard to stop standing there and get ready because people are coming to cause trouble. Then two massive zombies land. Everyone is surprised, wondering if these are the bosses from Base A. I keep calling them dogs because in theory they're the protagonist's pets, but obviously these aren't dogs. One of them says, hand over that person if you want to avoid a war. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with an attack from a foreign zombie nation. The guy in the bandana says, a war? Why would that happen? Humans haven't even started fighting among themselves, so why would we do that? Why are you helping the zombies? The beast replies, me. You're helping humans too, you idiot. Look at yourself. The masked guy tells him to shut up, while the long-haired guy says is only working for the survival of the zombie community. He has a grand plan in motion, but the dog just laughs. Then, we get a flashback of the protagonist wandering through a desolate world. The first half of the dog's life was like that of an ordinary bird. That sentence makes no sense, right? But hey, originally, he was a crow who lived in his community cleaning up corpses for the humans. Since they consumed the bodies, they actually helped reduce how many humans got infected, but the crow hated humans, because it wanted to become one himself. It wanted a pair of feet and to be like them. Basically, to lose his wings, his freedom, and work all day. Honestly, I'd rather stay a crow. Actually, forget that, because he and his friends got shot down. Yeah, being human is better after all. The protagonist was walking around in tattered clothes when he lifted a rock and felt a strange trace of life. That's when he found the crow, took it in his hands, and said that from now on, his name would be Lang. Then it told him straight up to learn that hatred and destruction are never the answer. Okay, so now we know his name is Lang. I don't have to keep calling him the dog anymore. It says the zombies' plan is far more magnificent than anything they could come up with. The long-haired guy just says it seems like they'll never see eye to eye. Just then, Lan Kei and Violet are arriving, while the guy who looks like Ghost Rider is already there, warning that this isn't their territory and that the zombies from Country B aren't going to just stand by. But smoke starts coming off of Lang, and Lan Kei and Violet are stunned. A human face begins to form. Then we cut back to the zombie. There's barely anything left of him. Damn, he's really torn to pieces. The protagonist says that if Lang wants to become any other type of creature, it just has to say the word. Holy cow, it turned it all cool, like a dark elf super saiyan. Has standing there with total arrogance while the two girls are confused. Technically, even they want to know, wasn't it supposed to be a dog? The guys from the other country say that bastard is trying to disguise himself as a human. Lang stands completely still, and one of them says he's about to get vaporized for acting so arrogant. Eun leases a huge barrage of fire, while the girls know this guy is no pushover. The attack heads straight for Lang, who doesn't move. Suddenly, a tornado rises up. Flames everywhere. But apparently, he's still standing there in the middle of it, because Ghost Rider charges at him. Lang stomps the ground and punches him right in the gut. Everyone is in shock. The fool goes flying, blowing up the entire city. The long-haired guy can't believe the power he's seen. Lang moves forward as the other zombies tremble. It looks like he took down all the buildings with a single punch. Zombies are flying everywhere. In the distance, Ghost Rider has already taken down 4 of them, and the long-haired guy says something is wrong, that this power is off the charts. Lang is just charging up his aura while the guy orders everyone to get ready. All the zombies from Country B have to attack and drive him out. Then he uses the art of the 1000-blade dagger. All those blades fly towards Lang, but most of them either shatter against his body or he easily destroys them. The guy goes to strike him, but Lang just sticks out his arm and blocks again. The long-haired guy is in shock. Nothing is doing is working. Meanwhile, Lan Kei and Violet say they need to find the president. A masked guy tries to escape while the long-haired guy orders everyone to stop the 2 of them. Zombies swarm in from all sides, but then dog number 2 suddenly sprouts wings out of nowhere. The guy pulls out a gigantic hand, what the heck, and it smashes the entire city. The 2 girls are frozen in shock. The creator literally turned it into a final boss, as tall as 10 buildings stacked on top of each other. It's crushing one of the buildings under its foot while the long-haired guy realizes it's one of the most ancient species, known as an ancient one. Lan Kei and Violet, however, want to know why they were locked in that cage if they had so much power. The creator doesn't say a word and just stands there, while the guy in the mask wonders how they're supposed to escape from a legendary species like that. It tells the bowl-cut guy to keep carrying the president, while he stays behind to help. It's the only way to win against something like this. If the zombies from Country B didn't win this battle, it would be the end for everyone. The long-haired guy can't believe that monsters from an ancient era still exist. And on top of the giant creator's head, whose name I still don't know, Lang lands. Meanwhile, the bowl-cut guy reaches the base and talks to the female boss, who looks perfectly healthy, telling her he brought the president and that they were under attack. She immediately orders him to kill the man, demanding to know why he brought him to her. But he explains that Aogi and Aishi were in danger, so he had to help them as fast as possible. He's asking something about how much he needs to open this thing. If you release everything, everyone would turn back into normal zombies. Apparently, it presses some kind of button to activate something, and the long-haired guy starts screaming, in pain, as every creature begins to get stronger. Lang, however, says he didn't expect them to combine their powers with technology, but it doesn't matter, because they only obey one person. Then, a single punch from the giant sends the entire city into oblivion. The poor zombies are thrown everywhere, while everyone frantically presses buttons trying to do something in the middle of the total chaos. Meanwhile, the long-haired guy confronts Aug head-on. The poor guy tries to hit Aug's shoulder, but is blocked and gets slammed right into the ground. The bowl-cut guy yells for everyone to hang on, as someone else steps up, eats the masked man, heading straight for the giant. Damn, this guy pulled an attack on Titan Mauve and transformed too, becoming a huge titan himself. The giant looks impressed, realizing there's actually someone of the same race as him. Then the monster charges, swinging its arm and slamming it into the ground, while Lang gets his face slashed. The long-haired guy, spinning in the air, shouts, wanting to know why someone so strong would choose to help humanity. They're the same race, the same species. They should be together. Lang simply replies that, unfortunately, it can't explain it. That's the order I received from the president. Then he punches him right in the face. The poor guy floats helplessly in the air, saying this is the end of the zombie race. Meanwhile, in the battle of giants, the one that looks like a minotaur tries to push the other one, saying he's not welcome here. But the twitting monster just stands there, completely unfazed, saying that unfortunately, everyone in this place will die today. The poor guy is grabbed by the neck, while the two girls watch in shock. The giant starts charging red energy in its hand and fires it right at his head. The bowl-cut guy calls out to Aishi, but the poor guy is already completely defeated, being lifted by the neck again. Hishionse again asks, "You have incredible power, why are you a prisoner of the human race? You could be worshipped as a god and destroy them all." The giant, whose name I'm still trying to figure out, replies that the reason he doesn't want to destroy humans is pretty obvious. Then comes a flashback to when he was just a little zombie, living with an alien family. His alien race wasn't like the undead. They had consciousness and their own food. All they wanted was their own territory to live in peace. But then the humans came with their so-called technology and destroyed their home. Bombs were dropped with the excuse that anything not of the human race must be annihilated. All his comrades were wiped out, no one survived. To protect him, his parents hid him among some ruins, trying to make sure he could at least escape the humans' hunt. The women called them monsters, but in his eyes, what were the women's? With his own eyes, he watched as they completely wiped out his race. At that moment, he began to hate humans more than any other creature. He wanted revenge, but even more than that, he hated himself. It is beset his own cowardice and weakness for not being able to protect the ones he loved. From behind a rock, he saw the Megazord declaring that all abnormal species had been neutralized. From now on, there would be no more zombies, aliens, or any other species on Earth. That's when the red Megazord said, "No, actually, there's still one left." The little zombie hiding in the cave was terrified, sure that this was the end for him. But just then, a punch landed right on the Megazord's face. That's when the tough guy showed up. Frieza's descendant was saved. He saw a zombie as someone like him, even though their appearances were different. He felt they were the same kind, and they watched that guy fight the entire human army all by himself. The soldiers were reporting that several troops on the battlefield were being wiped out. They were told to activate all weapons, and missiles started raining down from the ships. Not only that, they were ordered to fire everything they had from the sky, from the sea, from the land, even from space. Everything was to be aimed at that one spot. But the alien just watched as that guy took down the entire human army using nothing but his bare hands. With a single slap, he evaporated an entire lake. A plasma cannon started charging a huge ball of energy and fired it, but zombie didn't move. Dude, look at the size of that explosion on the planet. That's the kind of explosion that wiped out the dinosaurs, but the protagonist is no dinosaur. He stood there completely untouched. The alien was stunned. Right in front of the same type of laser that had wiped out his tribe, that guy stood there unharmed. Then came the most powerful mechanical warrior ever created by humans, but not even one survived a single punch. That being had achieved everything he himself had ever dreamed of. He saw in the faces of the humans the same despair Eonse saw on the faces of his fallen allies. The truth is, he was lucky to survive that war that lasted for decades. Unfortunately, most of the other living beings weren't so lucky. That single being single-handedly wiped out the entire human civilization, and of course, as a result, all other life forms perished as well. The battle was so fierce that all the planet's oceans evaporated, the continents were split in two, and that man achieved something he never thought possible. The humans were gone, and I realized that this person felt as much hatred for them as I did. But seeing that lifeless planet didn't make him happy. In theory, that was the feeling he was supposed to have once his revenge was complete, but the only thing he felt while looking at that man standing there was infinite loneliness. Zombie bent down, picked up his jacket, put it on, covered his head with the hood, and started to walk away. The little alien watched from the corner in silence. That's when Zombie sensed someone's presence. It wasn't the aliens, it was at the moment he saved Lang. That's when he started to learn from the boss that hatred and destruction never solve anything. He learned that hate and destruction would bring nothing good to this world. So, he decided to follow the boss and obey him, choosing not to become a threat to humanity. Back in the present, he asks Aishi if she understood everything he said. The two girls are watching everything as the creature is smashed into buildings, but Aishi says he's lying. Something that powerful couldn't possibly exist in this world. Then the scene changes to Zombie standing face to face with the president. Naturally, the man is in shock and reverts to his normal form. The cap-wearing sisters want to know what's going on. He snapped out of the hypnosis. They tell him to answer that he doesn't know why he transformed back, but the guy just says that all the ancestors have been killed. They tell him that makes no sense. He orders someone to call an ambulance and immediately runs off, saying they have to save him. Zombie suddenly wakes up. Wait, was he asleep? Where's the president? Meanwhile, the medics are rushing the unconscious man away with the sisters, saying they have to save him. He can't die now. Then someone calls the protagonist, asking if he can talk, and he tells them to go ahead. That's when he gets the news that the president has been kidnapped. Confused, Zombie says the president was right there in front of him, wasn't he? Where did he go? The guy on the line tells him he must be crazy. The president was kidnapped 30 minutes ago. That's when Zombie realizes what happened, runs out of the building, and takes off. The scene changes to the emergency room, where the girl in the cap asks about the man's condition. The doctors say it's not good at all. She says that bastard has to at least be able to talk. But the doctor replies, "Miss, that's asking for too much. If he manages to stay alive, that's something. He's in a vegetative state." The two of them stand there in shock. Then it cuts back to Aishi saying, "You're lying. If a zombie that strong really existed, why do we have to suffer so much just to survive? If he wiped out human civilization, so, why are there still humans today?" The giant says he'll have to ask the humans himself if he really wants to know, but it seems Aishi has no intention of backing down unless he does. Aishi yells that he won't back in no matter what. If anyone wants him to move, they'll have to go through him first. The ground starts to shake and Lanfi says he's completely lost his mind. Then the giant says, "Fine, I'll make sure Aishi disappears from the face of the earth." He starts forming a huge sphere of energy above his head like a damn spirit bomb. Naturally, even his allies are yelling at him to stop before he vaporizes the entire city. That's when Zombie extends his hand toward the attack. The long-haired guy just stares, wondering who the hooded man is. Turns out, he's right on top of Aishi's head, telling his friend to stop already. All the running zombies suddenly freeze and start to tremble. Even Aishi collapses, drenched in a cold sweat. Zombie turns around without a word. All the zombies there kneel, bowing before their king. Lanfi looks confused. Suddenly, everything goes silent, then the giant says that he's now allowed to talk to him. Aishi, shocked, says it's impossible, that guy couldn't be one of them. Seeing Zombie with that huge aura behind him, he asks if he's the predecessor, the progenitor of them all. But Zombie just asks, "Where is the human president?" "He's down there, on the ground. We took him to the east gate." Meanwhile, the long-headed guy falls to the ground, trying to understand how someone can radiate a presence stronger than all of them combined. At the same time, the beauty in the short skirt points her Glock at the president, saying she'll never show mercy to an enemy, but asks her to calm down and wonders if she's the leader of the rebels from Country B. She's really someone who's made a name for herself, a visionary and incredible woman. She cuts him off, warning him that he won't get away with that cheap flattery. Then he says, "What if I told you I have information about the ancient civilization? If you're human like me, it should interest you." In the flashback, she takes off her hood and tells him to get to the point, because her patience is running out. Then the president explains that country B has been acting suspiciously, because his nation discovered the remains of an ancient civilization. Although they only found fragments, they managed to learn some of that technology. And the reason country B is making such a big deal about his arrival is precisely because it possesses that information. So, instead of forcing a war that would weaken both countries, she should focus on getting that technology and defeating them both with her own hands. That seems to grab her attention for a second, but the next moment she's already pointing her gun and asking if he really thinks she's stupid. She's about to pull the trigger when suddenly a bunch of zombies swarm in, holding her down from all sides. She's pinned to the ground, demanding to know what the hell they're doing. She fed them, so why are they acting like this? Then she senses something in front of her. The zombies arrive, giving her that cold stare. Hugo. She realizes she's screwed. Still, she yells at the bastard to let her go and demands to know who he is. The protagonist simply replies, "I never thought the leader of the country B zombies was a human woman." Peculiar indeed, although I have no interest in ruling country B, you do not have permission to kill that man. She's furious, asking who he is and what he thinks he's doing. While the president celebrates that zombie has finally shown up, the leader orders her forces to attack now, saying it's their only chance to kill the president. But none of the zombies obey her. She's confused. It's as if her control over them is fading away. Then she sees the zombies turn to her and say they'll let her go when they leave. After all, they are civilized zombies and don't commit senseless massacres. It seems like everything is settled now. We're back with Lang and Violet, relieved that they're both okay. The president jokes that he never thought things would get so chaotic just because they went out to take a leak, but the protagonist finds it strange. He remembers blanking out for a second and then 30 minutes had passed. Maybe humans have some ability he doesn't know about. And with that, the president's visit to the country B zombie base comes to an end. Back to the scene, Lang turns to the long-haired fool and says he's lucky to have made it out alive today. Meanwhile, the giant starts leaving, destroying everything in his path before finally turning back to normal. After that, it was the last day of the visit. The president met with some citizens of country B and returned to country A. On the other hand, the security team had no choice. After that incident, they had to guard the president 24 hours a day, and someone really needs to send that kid to therapy. He's staring at those two hellish dogs, saying they look cute. Then the scene switches to another place where the two girls in caps admit they failed the mission. A month passes and now we're heading into the best kind of fight, the hot girl showdown. Violet tells Lang to take a deep breath and focus her energy in her abdomen. Then she has to transfer it into her hand. Lang, however, is stunned while Violet's explaining it. She storms off, saying she's done with this, but Violet charges at her, and everyone's in shock as explosions go off everywhere. Lang's trying to run from her while someone in the background says to record all the data from this fight. Damn, Violet. What a dangerous flexible kick. Lang glares back at her, but Violet's already coming in for another strike. Lang plants both hands on the ground, and Violet spins into a roundhouse kick. Whoa! Lang counters with a capoeira-style move that lands right on Violet's chin. She manages to step back and someone calls out to stop the fight. They've already gathered all the data they needed, but now both of them are fired up. A straight brawl punches to the face, the mouth, the chest. They both retreat. Violet prepares again, holding her sword midair. Lang grabs her own blade and leaps forward. There's an explosion. The whole city shakes. Holy, I'm out of breath. Just like Violet. She's exhausted while Lang is standing tall. Oh, she broke Violet's sword. Even so, Violet doesn't stop and Lang rushes in again. The two of them clash head to head until finally their transformations seem to wear off. Violet is exhausted, spitting out blood. And after running some analysis, the little Lou says that apparently they're about 20 times stronger than normal when they're transformed. It seems the number of times your strength increases is directly related to how strong you already are by nature, which is exactly why, well, the portal doesn't stand a chance against them at all. On top of that, she's also curious because both of them just had their hearts pierced, yet regenerated, even without being transformed. That basically proves that neither of them are human anymore. Looking through the documents, Lang immediately realizes that this is the price of obtaining such power, but Violet refuses to accept that. She insists she still has her consciousness and her body is alive. She's not like those mindless creatures that can't think for themselves. As far as she remembers, only those without consciousness were called zombies. Her friend says, well, based on the DNA, she's not completely wrong. Still, Violet cuts her off, saying that's not the point. What they really need to focus on is creating equipment that helps them control their emotions because yes, they're still human and man, they're definitely going to lose it one day and have to rethink that idea. After all those messy events during the country B visit, they finally got something rare, a period of peace and rest. Sammy's all cozy in his pajamas celebrating. Then the doorbell rings and Violet walks in saying the president's been looking for him. It's time for his meeting. Great. And in the next panel, that damn doctor's up to more nonsense again. Is there celebrating with a group of scientists? The bowl-cut guy asks, hey, Chronome, why are you focused on building mechanical suites and stuff like that? Why are you working on biological things now? But the bald man replies, Keith, you don't get it. This here is liquid metal nanotechnology. Apparently, this was how the ancient population built their technological empire. It's a liquid metal that can float freely in space and even change its form based on thought. And breaking something like this is about as hard as crushing an entire planet. The bowl-cut guy, in shock, says it's kind of an exaggeration to claim something like that existed in the past. Not to mention, it's way too advanced for what they're used to. Could the people of the past have really been that advanced? But the bald guy says that's exactly what was happening back then. Technology was incredibly advanced. Whatever they wanted, they had artificial intelligence machines to make it happen. Basically, everyone was just a giant, pampered baby. Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how things go in our own timeline. The problem is, even after reaching the pinnacle of technology, they still couldn't beat him. The bowl-cut guy says if he's that powerful, how are they supposed to beat him? How was a being like zombie even created? The bald guy says they didn't create him. Apparently, zombie is a creature that's been evolving since the very beginning of the planet. Just like humans. He's been walking this earth for far longer than they could ever imagine. But asks if there was really another civilization before theirs. And here comes the bald guy with the story, saying he'll explain. Like every civilization, it all started with agriculture. But one day, out of nowhere, a virus infected one of the farmers and it turned into a zombie. Back then, they looked a lot like humans and they used weapons to stop them. But to completely eliminate the zombie threat, humanity took a very different path. They didn't have powerful bodies, so they pushed technology to the absolute limit. After 1,000 years of development, technology advanced by leaps and bounds. And in that process, they discovered something that shocked everyone. The reason humans were turning into zombies was because they already had the virus inside their genes. It wasn't caused by any external mutation, and that discovery led to something even more terrifying. It had already existed within their civilization from the very beginning. Basically, it was a strange variant that had evolved since the very first humans existed. And the knowledge they had about this being was completely superficial. By examining all the genes they possessed, they discovered that 6 human civilizations had existed before them, and all 6 of those civilizations were created, destroyed and somehow connected to him. In short, he's wiped out more than one civilization, that's for sure. The doctor tells him to explain it clearly, and the bald guy says he already knows the rest. When they saw a being that completely defied logic itself, humanity began to focus on technology as much as possible. They started tracking his movements and, wherever it went, they would disappear to make sure it didn't see a single human. The idea was to study his behavior and his genetic structure. They pushed technology and science to the absolute limit, believing that no matter how strong it was, he was still a carbon-based creature and couldn't surpass the speed of light. But in the end, they always failed. Every time humanity was on the brink of destruction, they would bury some nutrients along with human embryos. And that's how the evolution of everything would start all over again. The doctor asks if they're really the embryos that were buried. He doesn't look too happy, wanting to know if that means they were basically some kind of synthetic species. The bald guy says that's not kited, and that he doesn't need to get upset. There were plenty of men and women reproducing freely. It's just that they needed an extremely modified genetic lineage. For example, it's incredibly rare for a genius like him to appear, and that's exactly where the human race has its advantage. The doctor tells him to shut up, saying he's tired of this story. They were just supposed to be taking a look, and he's almost finished. There's a small green zombie strapped inside a machine with restraints on all four corners. The bowl-cut guy looks at it and says, him, seems a little weak to me, I don't know. But the scientist says he's only half finished. This is the body he managed to create using the zombie's genes. The bald guy suggests injecting it with monominal. That way, they have a mechanical zombie with perfect modifications. Not only an immortal body, but also one made of the most durable material in existence. Literally, it shouldn't be any weaker than the real zombie. The nerd says they're insane. If this is a copy of zombie, there's a chance this creature could have the same idea as it does. And if it decides that they are the villains, it could kill them all without hesitation. The doctor agrees, saying it really can't have the same mindset as the original. The bald guy suggests giving it the same mindset as the zombie from their own era, but did forget that the zombie from their era also destroyed everything. I mean, it's not that I want the enemies to win, but come on, use your brain, man. Bulkut complains about the same thing, saying it might end up joining the real zombie, but the bald guy says the zombie from his time didn't think about anything. The only thing it remembers is that whenever it saw a human, it would start a massacre. Bulkut is stunned, but the doctor looks excited, saying that what it thinks doesn't matter. They just need to make sure something like it is created. The rest will be left up to fate. And now it makes sense why humanity has been wiped out 6 times with geniuses like these in charge. The scene shifts to the ocean, where the protagonist wonders why Violetta brought him there. Shouldn't you be at the office? There are huge ships all around, and then the president turns around all cheerful, greeting Zombie and saying how happy he is that they've finally met again. He's so happy that Zombie saved him, says he missed him so much and all that. He grabs our boy by the arm and tells him he has a gift for him. And why the heck is the artist hiding the president's face so much? A little suspicious. The president, himself, is now giving Zombie an entire naval fleet as a gift. 60 warships, each equipped with aircraft. Plus from now on, he's the commander-in-chief. Half of the country's forces are under his control. He's going to have to protect everyone and make sure no one dies. Zombie just lets out a woohoo as if he's super excited, except he's not at all. Violetta tells him to act a little happier. She doesn't even have one ship and is already being given 60, basically, and now commands all military forces on land and sea. The president tells everyone to salute their new commander and the whole crew shouts, "Good morning, Chief Zombie." The music starts playing, everyone celebrates, and he's presented with this huge warship. Meanwhile, somewhere else at sea, look who it is. The gorgeous villain is telling her crew to drop the pride. They weren't hired just to sit around and eat. And who's back? That's right, the Queen of Curbs herself. Beautifully drawn as always. Wow, what a sight. One of her men behind her tells her to calm down, that they can talk things over and understand why they were called there. The rebellion leader explains that the exchange between country A and country B is about to begin. When it starts, she wants the queen to sneak aboard the enemy ship and make them shoot each other. The short guy in the group says she can count on them to make it happen. It just wants to know how much they're getting paid. She says 3,000 gold coins, but the king had better wipe that sour look off her face. Her friend tells her, "Come on, king. Calm down. We need the money, remember? Black lent us money, but the interest is 40% that. It'll take us a millennium to pay it back." The queen approaches, but Abby steps in the way and says it's best to stay at least 16 feet away from the boss. The stunning beauty asks if they're afraid she'll eat their big sister or something. They reply that they're allergic to ancient creatures, so it's safer to keep their distance, but the boss tells them to let the weirdo through. And the queen gets closer and gives her a peck. Well, not literally a bird, but you know what I mean, saying she has no idea what the human is plotting. But that there's only one person in this world who could defeat her. The rebellion leader says she doesn't care, she just wants that chaos to happen. Deal made. And that's the situation for the Ice King. Unfortunately, to pay off her debts, she's had to set her dignity aside a bit. Don't worry, Kin. Dignity is overrated anyway. If things get too tough, just start an OnlyFans and you're set. Next scene, The trade event between country A and country B is about to begin and everyone is recording the ships. Although the two nations are far apart, every 4 years, they hold these events as a gesture of peace and goodwill. This time, the goal is to capture new islands and show off their military strength to reassure civilians that their families are safe. Meanwhile, the people from country A are gathering on Gua Island. Different departments are there for a game of beach volleyball. And bless that artist, who threw in a beach episode out of nowhere. Lank K is fully geared up while the Cap sisters declare that even though it's just an exhibition match, they won't accept defeat. Our poor protagonist looks all skinny and exhausted, while Violeta, well, she's looking stunning as always. The samurai guy, clearly a man of culture, says that matches between women are always a treat to watch. The audience is also watching, wondering who that weirdo is. Scrawny guy is. And who's his partner? That guy from way back, the one zombie humiliated at the start, the captain from the academy. Man, it's been ages since we've seen him. This is a match where everyone wins. Lan Ki tosses the ball into the air and Violet leaps up for the first serve. You guys watching are just like the audience there, taking screenshots left and right. Shortcut for anyone who doesn't know, Windows plus Shift plus S. Violet smashes the ball. It rockets past the girl in the cap who jumps up to block it, and she actually catches it. Then one of the sisters jumps to hit it back too and sends the ball flying. But Lanty immediately moves to intercept back and forth, side to side, until it smacks Zombie right in the head. The poor guy's dazzled while the crowd is losing it. And who's that long braided girl with the tattoo on her arm? Hey cameraman, pan a little to the right, quick. Just want to check something out. Zombie's running around trying to get out of the cows, but then, he's getting smacked in the face over and over. Let the guy breathe. The two girls are shouting at each other. It seems like this happens every year because one of the guys watching sighs, saying it's the same as always. Meanwhile, there's another girl with white hair just staring straight at Zombie. She tells Butterfly to be careful and not get noticed by him. They're watching him quietly from the sidelines. And damn, here comes another powerful design. The artist of this series is a true master. He can say so much with just a few lines. Butterfly, shown from that beautiful back angle, tells her to relax. It's been hundreds of years since she last fought him. Is probably forgotten by now. Who the hell are these women anyway? You could already tell even in his first form, he just looked like an idiot. It's hard to believe that once he transforms, he becomes this world's ultimate nightmare. The white-haired one says she never imagined she'd run into him again. It's her first time meeting this person in this lifetime. Butterfly answers that it's not time for them to meet again. He's far too dangerous. That terrifying memory still haunts her. All of them were forced to flee their planet because of the pressure and destruction it brought. The pain of abandoning their home world still weighs on her. She's never forgotten that moment. Nearby stands a massive muscular guy. Looks straight up like Hodder from Game of Thrones. Butterfly tells him to calm down, then sits on his arm, saying their goal here isn't to challenge him. Acting rashly would only bring catastrophic consequences. She says she's going to rest, but nay, the white-haired one, protests that she doesn't want to stay there alone. Butterfly replies that one of them needs to stay behind, observing from a distance. The most important thing right now is finding out the limits of that bastard's power. Zombie, however, is still there in his first form, looking all innocent. Back with the scientists, the bald guy says the design's finally ready. He really is a genius. It's just a shame he can't stop being bald. Boldcut though is more curious about the old civilization, or, like, how did they live? But the bald one says unfortunately, he has no idea. Looks like nothing was left behind. Basically, what they're doing now is starting civilization over from scratch. Back at Sea, the carver ships are moving out. The reporter says they're currently flying over the country's fleet. On one of the ships, someone calls out for the commander. And there he is, the baddest zombie himself, fully uniformed. Now our boy commands his own naval fleet. It trained his subordinates, all of whom were already familiar with ship controls. And now there are zombies running the show everywhere. They learned how to pilot and how to coordinate between land and sea. And now the very weapons made to wipe out zombies are being operated by zombies. And there's Violet wearing her usual outfit. Man, I missed that signature look. Then one of the zombies awkwardly tells her the boss wants her to join them. He also informs Miss Lang Kei that her uniform is ready, but she answers that as an advisor, she's not obligated to wear a uniform. Oh, come on. Just put on the new outfit so we can check out the design. So in total, our protagonist is commanding 3 massive military cargo ships. And apparently, there's going to be a competition. According to the reporter, it's meant to test cooperation between nations and see how well they can adapt. The participants in the middle fleet are a boy zombie, Violet, and Lan Kei. The next fleet has those 3 horned samurai. And last but not least, a bunch of poor souls who look absolutely terrible. In Country B, we have the Stocking sister teaming up with the samurai, plus 3 random girls I've never heard of, and this totally not suspicious group. The reporter says she couldn't interview everyone, since they're focused on the competition. At least she got to meet the leader of the second country, who seems like a really friendly guy. She asks for his opinion on the event, and they casually says everything is fine, people should fight less and live more peaceful lives. That way, everyone could just stay home, relax, and eat. The guy watching from home thinks that dude clearly has a screw loose. Next, she goes to interview the imposing Violet, who just says that if not all the ships end up at the bottom of the sea, she'll consider this whole thing a sexist. Lan Kei, on the other hand, says he has a bad feeling about all this. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out, what exactly are they competing against? Are they supposed to attack something together? The Stocking twins wonder what the point of conquering another island is. It was way easier when they just had to capture zombies. The hacker sister says she has no idea either, but she wants to know who those new girls on the other team are. They appeared out of nowhere and were promoted immediately. They must be special somehow. The guy with the bangs sniffs the air and Butterfly asks what's wrong. S says it's nothing, but someone is clearly looking for a beatdown. As usual, the one with the kino style is the best dressed of the crew. Butterfly and Ni ask the big guy what trouble is senses. S says there's someone nearby from the same origin as him. You could say they're the same species. He's not sure why, but their aura feels weak right now. Butterfly looks surprised, but tells him not to worry. It's so faint at this point, it could disappear at any moment. Meanwhile, a helicopter and several ships are approaching an island in the Atlantic Ocean. A girl with binoculars informs the lieutenant that the exchange event is about to begin. The lieutenant immediately orders them to open fire, and the first shot is fired. Damn, it looks like they're actually shooting at Country B's ships. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, but it really seems like the competition, and one of Country A's ships has already sunk. The samurai ask why they aren't fighting back yet. Are they just going to stand there and take the hits? One of them looks through binoculars and says the enemy is still too far away. The guy in a helicopter starts commentating, saying that Country B won't be able to hold back now that Country A has made the first move to claim the island. The watching crowd goes wild, cheering for them to go all out and destroy the enemy. Meanwhile, the officer with the bushy eyebrows orders them to fire at everything. Bombs are dropping into the water. Everyone is watching. It's total chaos. The samurai with the bandana asks if they shouldn't step in to help. The Sausage Head guy's ship looks like it's about to sink, but his comrade replies that whoever steps on the island first wins 40 points. So, for now, they'll let everyone else fight it out while they move in closer. Oh, now I get it. The guy with the bangs is shocked because the island they're on is where the competition is happening. Explosions everywhere as the Sausage guy yells for everyone to get back. He's going to handle this himself. Suddenly, something flies by and the enemy girl looks up just in time to see him transform in midair, his body swelling with muscles. It's a full-blown battle of side characters, and the ones suffering the most are the poor spectators forced to watch this mess. Ben, the sharp-toothed girl, says she'll handle it herself and shoots into the sky like a bullet. We've gone full Dragon Ball territory. They exchange blows in the air. She kicks him right in the face. The crowd cheers as the samurai team watches, saying, looks like their leader is getting his butt kicked. At that very moment, the Cap sisters notice that the samurai team is watching them, too. Everyone is keeping an eye on each other. One of them tells the others to hurry, since whoever steps on the island first gets those 40 points. Meanwhile, on the island, the nerds are banging on the door, yelling that they have a problem. There's a human army heading this way. The scientist looks confused, trying to understand what is talking about. He goes to the window to check and sees the fleet approaching. The samurai's ship is speeding up, racing against the hot girl's ship. The scientist asks how they were found, and the nerd says, were they exposed? The human replies that it's impossible. A shows the safest island on the planet, a totally isolated, random spot. No one would be interested in it. Then we flash back a few months, to the Prime Minister of Country B talking with the President of Country A about where to hold the next event. Apparently, the last time it was in Country A's territory and it turned into a disaster, so the President refused to have it on his turf again. The guy from Country B said that was fine, but it didn't want it in his territory either. How about that random island? It's not part of either country. And since the rest of the planet is already claimed, this place is perfect. The poor scientist is freaking out, saying that this makes no sense at all. Asks if the bald guy finished the program and the bald guy, who's still losing his hair, says he's almost done, just finalizing the code. The only problem is that some ARM modules still need to be installed. While everyone is stunned, the reporter announces that troops from both countries are arriving and it looks like the top generals from Country B are finally entering the fray. The city is buzzing with anticipation, but the reporter can't locate Country A's flagship. The scene cuts to a frozen place where Violet asks why they're even here. Lanka grace and tells them to explain themselves, while the little zombie warns that they're about to hit an iceberg. But Loli says this is exactly why you don't let a zombie pilot a sheep. The protagonist looks totally lost, with no idea where they are. Violet says they're looking at a freaking penguin and Elkie tells the zombie to just explain himself already. It turns out they're on the opposite pole of the planet, everyone is ganging up on him, has embarrassed and can't explain himself. Violet can't even use the map, they'll need a compass to get out of there. The protagonist asks, why don't we just quit this competition? It would be better. Back at the competition, there are explosions everywhere. The sharp-toothed girl is spinning in the air when that weird, muscular naked guy shows up, and she gets spooked. From a distance, the scientist wonders why everyone is converging. The samurai's team and the Cap sisters are still fighting. The old commander tells them to check the program and find a solution. The bald guy says, hey, don't you have any zombies left? Check the nanomaterial stock and make something to buy some time. But he searches and finds Abiel, saying, this is the solution. The other guy grabs it and says, these fools are about to get slaughtered. The human army is going to pay for making them look like idiots. On another ship, Avaman informs the Ice Queen that the armies have started to fight. It's time to execute their plan. She orders them to fire and the first rocket is launched towards Country B's flagship. The blonde guy raises an arm and conjures a protective wall around his ship. One of the guys is stunned that they had the guts to use real artillery. It's time to change the game. The Queen's friend warns that there's an expert on the enemy side. Just then, the big guy walks up to a guy on the ship and tells him to steer the boat towards the other one. The poor guy starts arguing that is the commander and they should obey, but the big guy just grabs him by the face and lifts him up. The guy's head is about to pop. The gray-haired guy tells the Queen they can't let anyone find out that they're just trying to suck up to that army. As the big guy crushes the other dude's head, the two girls glare at each other, saying they want to turn the other one to ash. The ships seem to be getting closer to each other while the big guy celebrates, saying, now both armies look like they'll take this seriously. Meanwhile, at the other pole, zombies are casually fishing. Whoever is alive is terrified. The poor people who think the ships are about to crash know they're going to die and are freaking out. Then the Queen gracefully stretches while the other lunatic leaps. She comes in with a flexible flying kick. Wait, how did she even hit him? The guy had already been launched super high. She gives him a look, he lands on his feet right in front of her ship, which is already cracking all over. The reporter is homicide, saying, you don't even need the captain's fight. Just these underlings are incredible. The Queen waves her arm and creates a whirlwind near the enemy ship. At the same time, the blonde guy raises an arm and forms a protective wall, while also using something like a gar move. The Queen was caught in a total death trap. Everyone is stunned, wondering if this is really the strength of someone who isn't even ranked as a general. And the guy checks the files and finds no record of a white-haired girl representing Country A. Meanwhile, other ships are rushing over at full speed. But the samurai crew knows something is wrong with that island. The ninja asks what's going on, and when he looks, a giant leg and a horde of zombies are approaching. It's about to be an attack on Titan-Kent-style rumbling. The scientist tells the bastards to charge. Meanwhile, the protagonist finally catches a little fish. The samurai are now in shock trying to figure out what's happening on the island. This doesn't seem like part of the test. Their friend just tells everyone to retreat. The hackers are screaming at their partner to slow down, but it's already too late. The giant zombie threw a mountain-sized mass at the shore and launched it straight at the ship, hitting them both dead center. The samurai wonder if this is part of the test. These people are taking things seriously this year. The scientist stands with his arms crossed, feeling proud. Even a helicopter commentator says the performance looked realistic. The villain yells that everyone should die. Sam goes to the Prime Minister of Country B asking if he planned this. The President of Country A says, "No way, he doesn't have that kind of technology." Back in the fray, the samurai tells everyone to prepare the counterattack. No country wants to destroy its own military weapons, so now there are enemies on that island. The scene cuts to the protagonist, where the hell are Violet and Lang? His friend replies, "I don't know. They disappeared." Out on the ocean, they're both running at full speed. Violet is furious, saying, "That bastard, doesn't he know how hard I train for this event every 4 years? My plan was to beat those two sisters senseless, and now I'm afraid I'll get there and it'll all be over." Her friend says, "Ooh, Captain, we're out of fuel to get back." She yells, "No way." She refuses to give up now. So, they drum 1, 2, 3, 4 and the zombies pull that giant freighter with sheer rowing power to the other side of the planet. Got it? Meanwhile, Baldi yells, "All right, all done." Finally, Bulk Cut says, "Hey, you better not let that thing get here alive or we'll be the ones to die." Baldi replies, "I already kicked it straight into the ocean." Google Maps image. The scene cuts to a warplane where Abby says, "Hey, bro, what do you think those hired guys are doing down there?" As she replies, "I don't know. Maybe they've reached the enemy. But wait, what's that thing up ahead?" On the beach, there's a strange pod. Inside the pod, someone with a robotic arm slams their hand against the wall, forcing it open. Outside, the two of them are trembling. The figure steps out, casting a dark and ominous glare. Then, the scene cuts to the protagonist's base where the vampire-looking guy is stunned as everyone arrives pale and terrified. For some reason, everyone is breaking out in a cold sweat. What the hell is that? Is that the guy who came out of the pod? The two brothers are frozen in shock. The newcomer really looks like the darkest final boss form of a zombie. It's like Dark Goku just showed up. He starts walking towards them as the scientists cheer. It worked. That bastard is about to show his true power. He stops in front of them, looming like a giant, even though he is actually the same height. Then, out of nowhere, he grins widely and says, "Wow, it's been so long. Come on, give me a hug." The others look on in confusion while the scientist starts tearing out what's left of his hair. Back on the beach, the group sees this guy asking, "Hey, you, who are you, you, the one from the pod?" The three of them are trying to figure out what's going on. But, Dark Zombie grabs one of their arms, saying, "Finally, I found someone of my own kind. I've been alone for so long." The AI in the background says the guy's aura suddenly vanished. The doctor yells, "Hey, Baldi, you idiot. Did you screw up?" The bald guy insists, "Wait, calm down. There must be some glitch. I'll adapt soon." Then, Zombie pulls down his hood. "Sorry for being rude. Nice to meet you. My name is Yang Zombie." The guy asks, "Are you a zombie?" He replies, "Well, yeah, obviously, my friend. It seems they brought me back through some kind of resurrection or something." "Hey," she looks puzzled. "Resurrection? What are you talking about?" Abby shakes his device and says, "Well, according to this, it really does have the consciousness of a zombie." Then he asks, "Weird. Why does he look so robotic?" The dark zombie looks at the sky and says, "Unfortunately, he has no idea. He just came back to life." The two of them stare at him, confused about where this guy came from. That's when the man in the mask yells, "You idiots, stop chatting and let's go, we have to get back to the boss's plan." Abby and Aishi just say their goodbyes. "Alright, say ya, zombie man, good luck with your life." They start up the plane and take off, and in the air the rebel leader asks, "Who was that guy anyway?" Aishi replies, "I have no idea. It just popped out of a pot out of nowhere, but honestly, it seemed like a nice guy. And yet, I'm still terrified of this guy. He has this creepy smile and says, I feel great. Let's check out this city. You just know the moment he sees the first human, he's going to start wrecking everything. Meanwhile, the scientists are panicking. One of them is about to shoot poor Baldy while Bull freezes, too scared to do anything. Back down below, the ship takes off and the giant zombie arrives in front of the city. Some civilians whisper, telling each other to look over. That person over there looks a little strange, doesn't he? And the first thing he says is, humans, followed by a little laugh. On the plane, Abby asks, what are you thinking about? She replies, that guy we met earlier. Maybe we should have brought him with us. He looks so weak. He'll probably get killed by the humans like an idiot. And then here we go. The dark zombie starts charging up for an attack while the scientists watch closely. He slams his fist into the ground, splitting the world in half and lifting it upwards. Just like that, 1 billion people dead. What the hell? Cars, buses, everything is flying through the sky, reaching the plane's altitude, almost crashing into it. Abby and she look completely lost. And wow, the art looks awful in this panel, but I get the idea. The planet split in two. I forgive you, artist. It probably would have been too much work to draw it properly. Our boy, the dark zombie, literally flipped the planet's tectonic plate with a single punch, and now it's raining people everywhere. Chaos, destruction, nothing is left standing. I have no idea how anyone is still alive in that world. Every fight ends with 1 million casualties. Even the girls who were on the other side of the planet, still on their ship, turned their heads to the side, wondering why half the continent is upside down. Meanwhile, the Ice Queen says, no one in this world can oppose me. Wait, what are you? Zombies? Butterfly tells her to calm down, but the Queen is already losing her mind. She starts destroying everything, and the blonde guy comments, well, she's a bit stronger than I expected. The Queen keeps demanding to know who they are. Butterfly looks ready to finish her off, but Nay steps forward and says she'll handle this woman herself. She tells her, we don't intend to kill you. So, just tell us where your master is and let's be done with this nonsense. The Queen replies that she has no idea what they're talking about. Butterfly, who can apparently read minds or something, realizes the King isn't lying and says, interesting. In theory, vampires should have gone extinct, so why do you still exist? The blonde guy adds, this woman should have disappeared a long time ago, and if her master had used some kind of cultivation site to keep her alive, she wouldn't have this level of power. The King looks confused and says, it's strange how you speak as if you know me. The blonde guy explains that she possesses a genetic trait that grants her immortality. That's when Nas says, we come from an ancient civilization, and our purpose here is to investigate the zombie's true strength. If you've lived on Earth this long, then you must also know who he is. The King snaps back that they talk too much and that's why she despises humans. She was about to fight back, preparing to attack. But before anyone can react, they all hear a loud cracking sound. Everyone looks to the side, and the planet is split in half. Now the girls are completely lost, trying to figure out what just happened. Even a reporter covering the fight is suddenly at a loss for words. The poor samurai, the girl falling off the ship, the soldiers in the middle of battle. Everyone is in shock. Meanwhile, Dark Zombie just stands there, watching as humans rain down from the sky. The narrator says both sides are tense and the battle is fierce, but the people on the airship are trying to figure out what just happened. Then, an explosion shoots up into the sky. It's the Dark Zombie, heading straight for the stars. And, damn, the guy just activated bleach mode. He's entered his second form. Everyone's freaking out, trying to understand what kind of monster this is as it prepares for another attack. You don't know if it fell back to the ground or just jumped it that high, but the entire city was split in two. It looks like it's back on the surface now, fully transformed, with more cars floating in the air than are left on the ground. The brothers desperately try to shield the rebel King from the falling debris, while Abby tells everyone to get ready, because a huge energy bubble is forming in the middle of what's left of the city, which has already been completely annihilated. Por Bio and Lang, they don't stand a chance. The Dark Zombie stands motionless in the center of the crater, staring down everything around him. Even on the ships, everyone, including the resurrected blonde guy, looks completely horrified. The blonde gay guy mutters that this was the zombies' pattern and that the entire city of Guadaco has been wiped out. Holy crap, it can feel 30 million lives fading away all at once. The news is already broadcasting it. Everyone is trying to process what just happened in the blink of an eye. The masked man crashes to the ground, shielding the human girl, while Aogi and Aishi rush to help, asking what the hell he's doing. The dark zombie turns to them and declares that humans deserve death. Aishi and the masked guy say nothing. The dark zombie asks why he can still feel a human presence. Why haven't they been completely wiped out? The group hides the girl, whispering for her to stay still and not even breathe. Then, Aishi finally says, "Dude, this is insane. You've lost your mind. It's impossible, there are no humans left alive. Maybe what you're sensing is the humans sent on me, because I lived among them for a long time." Abi-3 does signal the masked man to get the hell out of there, but before he can, the dark zombie extends his arm and demands an explanation. Holy crap, he grabs him by the neck, pulling him close and ordering him to explain why he's been spending time with humans. Aishi asks if they aren't brothers, but the dark zombie coldly says, "I will kill you and create zombies who don't care about humans." His brother notes how completely different his personality has become. Why is acting like this? Ivy tries to reason with him, saying he's overacting. There's no way a zombie like him could be tainted by humans. Then it tells him to head southwest. Apparently, there's a city there with 70 million people. 70 million? He's going to annihilate 70 million just to purify himself. And immediately, the dark zombie responds by taking off into the sky. Down below, the masked man releases the rebel leader, who yells that they need to stop him. If their goal of coexistence between humans and zombies is going to work, they can't let this monster do what he's planning. Hi yells, "Are you crazy? How are we supposed to stop that guy? There isn't a single creature in this world that can stand up to someone like him. In half an hour, the entire human race will probably be gone." The rebel girl runs to the cameraman and shouts, "Listen up everyone, go home and hide underground. A terrifying monster is trying to wipe out the entire species, get into a bunker or find a hole, if you don't, humanity is done for." Meanwhile, a kid watching TV tilts his head. What the heck? Why does everyone on TV sound so crazy lately? At that very moment, on a nearby mountain, a guy tells his director that the live stream just hit 100,000 views. The director grins as they film a girl doing a TikTok dance. It cheers her on. Streaming pretty girls really is the secret to getting rich. Then, he throws in an ad, selling a miracle cream. It's not $9.98, not even $2.98. Today, this cream that made this lady glow like a goddess is only 98 cents. And just then, the dark zombie appears. The director turns around. The shockwave from his presence alone sends everyone flying. The poor guy ends up face to face with him. The live stream is still recording as the orange-haired girl stammers, asking who he is and what he wants. He just stares at her, raises his hand, and bam, a single flick of his finger completely vaporizes her. The director is frozen in horror while his friend desperately looks for a place to hide. Buddha gets grabbed by the shirt and dragged to the edge of a cliff. The TikTok camera is still recording everything. The dark zombie raises his hand, gathering black energy in his palm. The director trembles, trying to understand what's happening. Meanwhile, back at the zombie's base, someone comments, "That's his power. In theory, that guy is supposed to be the king." On TV, the news anchors are also panicking. No one understands what's going on. It seems to be somewhere in Country B, but who is that dark figure? The dark zombie extends his finger and the impact shoots towards a city. In an instant, everyone walking around turns into nothing but ash. Then he clenches his fist. An explosion erupts, powerful enough to rival a nuclear blast. "Hey, zombie, get out of the North Pole already. By the time you're done, half the planet will be gone." The masked man and his allies realize that hiding is no longer an option. The blonde guy tells the Ice Queen that they all must stop him. If not, he'll annihilate every living human. Just then, one of the Ice Queen's subordinates runs in, shouting that someone is wiping out the entire city. And there's no doubt it's the zombie. The blonde man warns that if things continue like this, once he's done with the humans, it'll come for everyone. At that moment, A global broadcast begins to announce that a psychopath is massacring the entire country and because of that, this year's summit was officially cancelled and a state of emergency was declared. The entire country was put on level 1 alert. Researchers also reported that the disappearance of an entire city seemed to be related to that guy. Back with the blonde man, the Ice Queen's ally asks why the zombie ate humans so much. Since he's from the past, maybe you know something about it. The queen explains that it's because humans killed his family and all his friends. It's not an unfounded hatred at all. The problem now is that the dark zombie is the one destroying everything. The zombie subordinates are confused and that poor guy filming his TikTok was completely vaporized as the dark zombie launches into the air again. The scientist is in shock and B-Cut says, "At this rate, there's not going to be anything left on Earth. Are you sure you're on our side?" The bald man replies, "Kid, you don't understand anything, but let me explain." It turns on the microphone and says, "Hello, world, allow me to introduce myself. I am an ancient human you've probably heard of, and I'm speaking to you from your future to share some crucial information. First, take a look at this video of the creator destroying all these fleets and cities. It represents the zombies that have been wiping out human civilization for countless generations. Because of him, humanity has never been able to progress. He still lives among you, watching, making sure no human race ever truly prospers. That's why we developed a being capable of fighting him on equal terms. But don't worry, I have already sent countless human embryos and fertilized cells into space so that in a few million years, humanity will re-emerge without the existence of zombies. For the sake of humanity and the future of this planet, everyone should say goodbye to their families and die in peace." The entire population is stunned. Meanwhile, our beloved zombies are sitting keenly up north in the Arctic. Dark Zombie remains motionless, staring blankly as TV anchors report that the statistics are still incomplete, but it seems countless cities have already been completely wiped out. Looting and violent incidents are breaking out all over the world and society is collapsing. Holy cow, people still have time to fight each other in the middle of this. The police struggle to contain the riots, while presidents tell people not to lose hope, that there's still a chance. But clearly there isn't. The story says some humans refuse to give up. Good for them. Just stay alive until the zombie shows up and leaves the frozen wasteland. A helicopter lands nearby, with Nee getting out, and the soldiers ask where the commander is. She tells them he'll take a little longer to arrive because, apparently, the blonde guy took him out. She orders them to explain the situation. The soldier reports that just ahead is Chi City, which has already been completely annihilated by Dark Zombie. They had sent thousands of troops to try and slow him down, but they still have no idea how things are unfolding. Nye orders them to fall back and let her squad handle it. The soldier insists they wait for the commander, but the blonde guy cuts him off, saying he's wasting everyone's time. Meanwhile, our lovely Lang and Violet finally arrive as well. The soldiers cheer when they realize it's country-ass team. The protocols are activated immediately. Violet sees the Ice Queen and Gladys at her, asking what the hell she's doing there. The queen snaps back, saying she was about to ask the same thing. Why has Violet's leader gone completely insane? Violet says something like, "What the hell are you talking about, crazy?" Butterfly steps in, asking how they know each other. The queen explains that they've had a few minor disputes in the past. At these, the guy in the white helmet gets excited and says, "Hundreds of generals are arriving in addition to the lieutenants. We'll definitely be able to defeat this lunatic." Violet is impressed. Wow, they have over 1,000 generals. This country B is really powerful. However, at that moment, Lambie tells her to shut up and look at that. In front of the fools, all those supposed 1,000 generals and whatnot were already defeated in a pile. The poor guys are all scared as they carry the samurai away. Dark Zombie looks back. The two of them jump as helicopter arrives with even more generals. The guy in the white uniform tells everyone to stay away from this fight if they have a low-ranking general, because they'll take it from here. Ba asks if they're really sure and they says yes. The country's number one was with them, so they don't have to worry. Besides, their country was supposed to stay out of it and stop causing trouble. However, standing over all the dead bodies, Dark Zombie was just standing there, calm. He gives them all a look, letting out a Joker-like laugh. Meanwhile, the heroes say, "Everyone back. Our specialty is killing monsters." The crowd cheers loudly. Everyone is recording, telling them to kill this guy. On the other hand, Butterfly is scared. She can feel the zombie's aura. The queen's friend is also trembling. And then, Dark Zombie gives a look, expands his aura, and suddenly, the clouds over the entire city turn black. The sea begins to churn and everyone wants to know what's happening. A white whirl appears. Everyone holds on, and wow, the guy has transformed into the hero, pulling out that futuristic armor. Now the albino ant is already scared, not knowing how they'll solve this. However, it tries to cheer on the team, saying, "Don't be afraid. This guy is just bluffing. This transformation is nothing." Violet and Langi try to warn that this transformation is dangerous, but the group of heroes doesn't listen, and they all charge. Albino Ant is about to throw a punch while Dark Zombie just stands there. Suddenly, the guy seems to shatter into glass-like space and in a split second is completely compressed. Everyone attacking starts getting reduced to mangled covers as blood gushes out. The townspeople try to understand what happened. At that moment, the beautiful Kin tells her friend they don't stand a chance, they need to get out of there. Wow. However, the guy opened a wound on her chest. Oh, what a waste, zombie. Dark Zombie doesn't do that, man. The beautiful giant Kin falls to her knees, wanting to know how this happened. Wow. Who did that to Violet? Too few. She managed to activate Ishika's mask and escape the attack, saying there's no way she'd just wait for death. Yeah, but she also took one to the stomach. And the mask broke too, man. At least Langi arrives from above, calling him a bastard, but the guy just creates an aura blast, pushing everyone away. It clears a whole path, wiping the entire city off Google Maps. Langi is all beautiful and wreck against the wall. Meanwhile, at the hero base, the guy with the sack on his head recognizes that this was the king's fourth form. The vampire also realizes the aura is exactly the same. It can only be him. Then the sack, no, not the sack. The guy with the sack on his head says that now that the king is gone, the vampire is in charge. And what are the orders? He, a bit confused, says that well, if it really is the king, they have to support him, especially since they follow that guy. Besides, the zombie had already done this whole evaporating the earth thing more than once or twice. The Dragon Ball lizard agrees and the sack guy says okay then. However, at that moment, Lang appears saying they don't agree. Did they really think this guy was the king? What kind of stupid joke is that? This guy clearly just took some of his genius and his appearance. They must have forgotten how hard the king worked to create this world in peace. It would never do something as stupid as destroying and killing everyone like that again. The king was someone who sought the truth, a much nobler person than that steel-skinned monster. Lang remembers when they found them, our boy holding a little bird, all gentle like. Lang is the only one who recognized him. Wow, we're already on the battlefield and the butterfly, who I haven't even seen attacked yet, hasn't done a thing. I wanted to see how strong she is. The girl is already on the ground. Meanwhile, the dark zombie grabs the buff blonde by the head, saying, "Jay, even in my prime state, I would have finished everyone here. This is boring, I feel like I'm bullying children. Well, you all stay here and train. I'll be back after I've evaporated all the humans in the city." Everyone hears this and the dark zombie immediately leaves. Ni apologizes, saying he couldn't do anything, while Violet says, "It's impossible. There was no way they could win. No one could withstand a single attack." Phew, the king is recovering, guys. You can relax. We're back in Antarctica. The little hero is her calm when something flickers, but that's when a message through a SpaceX satellite starts telling all viewers that the world is going through an unprecedented crisis. In half an hour, thousands of cities had already been destroyed and the next target was city number 3 on the northern parallel. Actually, number 30, a city that's in H City, which is our hero zombie city, and the dark zombie has just landed there. Lang immediately appears, telling the vampire, "Dude, are you really going to let this guy destroy the king's entire city? If you don't do it, we will." The one who's trembling says, "Him, they're a little crazy." And the vampire says, "It's fine. They'll soon understand what's going to happen because they're too young." Meanwhile, that giant is already transformed, casting a shadow over the entire continent. As the message continues, half of the world's population has already been wiped out. This is the most serious disaster humanity has ever faced. Meanwhile, observing the city, the dark zombie finds it interesting that humans and zombies live together. Then, Lang appears and asks, "King, did you forget about us?" The dark zombie, confused, asks, "Who are you? I don't even know you." As Violet tries to get up, the country's president tries to inform all of humanity that as long as they can hold on to the light of victory, they will not be exterminated. One of the refugees tells them to take a look, and then Lang charges at the dark zombie, but they just expands his aura and the guy gets knocked down. At the same time, something lands on top of another building and Diaz arrive, military uniform and all. The president is saying that in the face of disaster, everyone is equal. They didn't have time to mourn those who died. All they had to do now was not lose hope that they could survive this. Lang was thrown and the little hero caught him from behind while something hit the giant's face. The poor guy fell and probably killed about 30 million citizens. Truly useless. But then the dark zombie starts walking, saying that the guy is really interesting. Lang calls out to His Majesty, and the king just tells him to evacuate everyone from this city and get out of there, because he was going to take care of this. He immediately charges and the dark zombie is there laughing, saying it's interesting that he has arrived. Now it was time for him to eliminate the entire city. The vampire is a little confused because they both have the same genus. So what were they going to do? The original Truman just tells him to evacuate the entire population, so the vampire leaves while the Dragon Ball guy wants to know who they're going to listen to. It just tells them to evacuate the country anyway because it seems the real one has arrived. Meanwhile, the dark zombie continues to laugh as helicopters film the whole event. In a split second, it jumps off the giant's forehead where he was standing and punches him. An explosion happens and everyone is scared, but when they stop to look, the dark zombie is there, still, not moving a muscle, blocking the punch. The girl trembles. The dark zombie is confused, with his hand on his face and driven into the ground. At the same time, he was launched far away, tumbling through a building and out the other side. Everyone was watching this. The guy hit his head on the street, ending up face down. Wow. A total Dragon Ball seconds. Before he could fall, the little hero approached again. In mid-air, he clenches his fist, punches him in the chest, and he's already on his second form. Laughing like a maniac, the guy blasts off Team Rocket style. Then he poses stylishly while the guy is in outer space laughing, saying things just got interesting. It felt like fighting himself. Yep, that's pretty much what's happening. In the city, everyone wants to know who that guy in the uniform is. While the little guy is on the ground laughing, his team is evacuating everyone from the city. Just then, one of the guys points out that he remembers now. That guy was the former president of Country A's bodyguard. The people in the helicopter keep saying it looks like a fight between monsters has started. At that moment, from high up in outer space, the dark zombie comes down like a comet. However, the little guy runs towards him. The guy comes in, burning through the atmosphere, and our boy meets him in midair. They both stare each other down. It's straight up Dragon Ball with an honest-to-goodness exchange of punches to the face. They're both pushed back while the entire population watches, confused. The dark zombie readies another attack. Our little guy counters, and now it's blow for blow. The L blast. Wah, half the city disappears with that. Buildings flying everywhere, even the zombie gets sent flying. The population is in disbelief that the whole place is being leveled. Meanwhile, the samurai are like, in this demon fight, how are they supposed to get involved? At that point, the samurai says that Iceland looks really suspicious and maybe they should attack it. Violet stands up, saying she understands. While the scientists are celebrating, saying, "Finish that bastard off," more people recognize the little guy as the one who was the bodyguard, and in the blink of an eye, it looks like the whole place has vanished. Where are the two of them? In the middle of it all, our boy had advanced once again. Whoa. He looks a little worn out, oh, wow. And where's the long hair, dude? To be honest, it looks way more stylish shirtless with long hair like a real Super Saiyan Goku. On the other hand, the dark zombie is missing half of his torso. And now the population is celebrating because, man, this population, the poor things, half of them get caught up in the fight. They're all cheering, "Go zombie, you're our hero, finish him." And then the little guy asks, "You said you're like me. To me, you're still an amateur. Just then, a purple energy ball comes at him, but smacks it upward, creating an atomic explosion. Whoa, everyone is left wondering if that really happened. And behind the little guy is just Oppenheimer. The dark zombie charges forward once more. Suddenly, Echo, missing with 5 mid-air explosions, leaps at the guy, who manages to intercept him with a single punch right to the mouth. The dark zombie looks like he's about to clock him in the jaw, but our boy dodges and gives him a straight-up punch combo. Just then, the guy comes at him with one finger against his fist. The little guy releases something and the guy is holding his hand there, creating a yellow triangle. The one, the only, the original starts to disappear and now he's the one who got his entire torso, head, and cerebellum disintegrated, everything. The dark zombie continues to use something with that yellow hand of his. The scientists are celebrating and another explosion tears across the continent, cutting through space. In front of the dark zombie, only the crowd of everything that was destroyed remains. Everyone is wondering if the guy who was fighting has been disintegrated, while the scientists celebrate, saying it's a good thing the zombie couldn't advance to the next form. However, the lad scientist tells them to look at the air and zoom in 1000 times to see those tiny particles. The people, on the other hand, are already falling into despair, as the fusion particles and cells begin to